So welcome to our nutrition chat. I know this is like the thing that everybody's been most looking forward to learning about in addition to the run and strength content. So Beth, thank you so much for joining us. Would you please introduce yourself and let us know what we're going to talk about today?
Sure, absolutely. Thanks for having me. You can absolutely interject with any questions. This is pretty informal. I am going to talk a bit about some basics of endurance nutrition, but if there's something in particular you want to know, I can certainly answer that. And yeah, I'm so happy to be here. So I am Beth Peterson, and I have been a dietitian for over 20 years now, And I've worked in all sorts of different capacities, from critical care nutrition in a clinical setting to community nutrition, for the past 7 or 8 years, specifically sports nutrition. And although sports nutrition has always been a part of my interest since I've been an athlete for a very long time. And so I grew up a runner, and I ran in high school and college. And then, like every runner, I got injured a lot. So I moved along to the sport of triathlon, and that took care of me very well for many years. I raced professionally for 6 or 7 years, and now I am back to being an age grouper. And so listen to this. I signed up for an Ironman last year. I swore to myself after my last professional Ironman I would never do Ironman again. And I lasted for like 2 years, and somehow I'm back to it. I signed up for one. Of course, it got canceled last year, so now it's this year. So I'm back.
Which one are you doing, Beth?
Tulsa.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll see about that. And I've raced ultras. I did a 50 miler last year. I've done a ton of mountain bike racing. So I did Leadville. I've just sort of done it all from the perspective of, and that has taught me a lot about nutrition. And the nutrition for, it's all endurance sport, but it's all a little bit different. So it's given me a lot of good experience. And in the meantime, I've worked with a ton of really great athletes and trying to get them on track with nutrition. So that's that. Let's do this presentation, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to share my screen. Can you guys see it?
Yep, we're good.
Okay. All right. So like I said, this is kind of very basic. It's just kind of going over the basics. And if at some point there's a topic that you're particularly interested in, I'm going to speak today about daily eating, not necessarily fueling your workouts or fueling your racing or anything like that. That's, in my mind, a somewhat different topic. A lot of people are interested in supplements. There's all sorts of different talking to do about diet and sport. So I can certainly speak to something else at some point if you would like me to. But today we're just going to talk a little bit about the basics of everyday nutrition. So, you know, a lot of people are interested in nutrition, and it's not necessarily like, well, why do you have to think about this? Because you guys are already thinking about it. But I always put a slide like this in here because, you know, people really, when they sign up for something like a marathon or a triathlon or you know, a mountain bike race or something like that, of course they're very heavily focused on getting the training in and doing that properly and making sure they're prepared in that sense. But the nutrition piece of it is, they have always called nutrition the fourth discipline of triathlon. It's very true. It's very much just as important as the physical training side of it, because if you mess up the nutrition, then all the physical training doesn't really play out as well as it could. Nutrition plays a huge role in recovery. So other than perhaps sleep, I will give sleep the nod on the best recovery method, or the thing that you know, impacts recovery the most, but nutrition is right there with it. So it's very impactful when it comes to recovery. It's very impactful when it comes to injury prevention. Not fueling properly, not getting the right nutrients in, not getting enough protein, not getting enough of the vitamins and minerals. Some of the vitamins and minerals can make a huge impact on injury. Immunity, staying healthy enough to do the hard training that we do, very much impacted by nutrition. And what all that speaks to is your ability to train well. So if you don't recover well, if you're injured, if you're getting sick all the time, you're not going to be able to do the training piece of it, right? So get the nutrition right so that you can do the training. And all of that, not to even mention long-term health. So we take away sport altogether, and we're just talking about staying healthy and cancer reduction and risk of cancer, heart disease, risk of stroke, all that. You can't underestimate the importance of nutrition. So I know as athletes, we tend to think, oh, well, I'm not going to have a heart attack. I'm not going to get heart disease. I'm not going to have a stroke because I'm so healthy. And hopefully very true, but nutrition is a big, very, very impactful when it comes to that. So let's make sure of that. So that's why we spend some time talking about nutrition anyway. Okay, so I thought I would talk about a few major concepts when it comes to endurance nutrition, which can basically help you understand how to set up a day, what a day would look like, what's important to get in. And the very first concept is to always have what I would call pre-workout fueling. And a lot of people skip this part of it, or they do it sometimes, or they do it randomly, or they don't do it at all, or whatever. But it's an important piece of the puzzle. So you're going to do a workout. Within 30 to 60 minutes before starting that workout, you want some sort of carbohydrate. 20 to 40 grams in general if it's a bigger workout. So like, let's say you're training for an Ironman and you're about to go do a 6-hour brick, the carbohydrate could be higher than that. Let's say we're about to go do an hour swim or something like that. We're talking 20 to 40 grams of carbohydrate within 30 to 60 minutes prior to working out. Now, a lot of people say, I get up at, and that's very true of myself. I get up at, 4:30 to start my workout at 4:45. Do you want me to get up even earlier? No, you don't have to get up earlier, but you still have to eat something. And that something could be something super simple. It could be a gel. It could be a banana. It could be, a slice of toast. It doesn't have to be a full-on breakfast, but it's important to top off your carbohydrate stores prior to working out so that the quality of that workout can be good. If you work out in the morning, you're having it, when you first get up. If you work out in the evening, you're having it before then as well. And so something, again, easily digestible. We're mainly looking for carbohydrate. We don't need fat or fiber. We don't need a ton of protein. Like I said, examples could be toast with some jam, a fig Newton or two, a granola bar, a waffle, something like that. If you are about to go do a super hard run, and you're like, I can't eat something right before I run like that, take a gel. Take something that you would eat during training. That's totally fine. It will, like I said, it will top off your stores and prepare you for a quality training session. One thing that I want you to keep in mind is people think when they think of recovery nutrition, they think of the recovery drink that we do afterwards. And of course, that's a big piece of it. And we're going to get to that concept. But recovery really starts at this pre-workout fueling. Recovery also is very, very much the fueling that you do during your training is very, very much part of the recovery. Think of every time you do a workout, think of basically you are digging a huge hole. And there's purpose to that hole. There's purpose to the digging. That's what training is. But the fueling that you do before the workout, the fueling that you do during the workout, and the post-workout recovery are all putting a little bit of dirt back in, okay? back in the hole. So when you finish, you don't have this huge gaping hole, you have just a little bit of a hole. So then, your meals throughout the rest of the day can appropriately fill the hole. If you don't fill that hole, like, you're probably going to be okay for a little bit. So your second workout of the day will be okay. Your workout the next morning might be okay, but eventually somewhere down the line, your hole is going to be way, way, way too big to fill. And that's when you get sick. That's when you get injured. That's when your workouts are just not quality. You can't, I can't push the power. I don't know what happened. I can't. I just really, the last hour of this ride, I just couldn't push anymore. I didn't have anything left. Now that can be other things, but a lot of times that's nutrition. And this pre-workout fueling is part of that. So make sure you have something on board if you're about to go train. That's not even to speak to, you have to get used to eating and having something in your stomach prior to racing. And this is you're not going to go do an Ironman and not eat. You're not going to do any sort of race and not eat beforehand. So when you continually don't eat before training, you're not in any way preparing your gut to have something on race morning. And that's a big, big piece of the puzzle, to tolerating it, and to your stomach just being used to your gut knows what's coming. Okay, so that's concept number one. Any questions yet? So far, so good?
I have a question.
Sure.
So, there's those popular drinks now, like Fit Aid and Recovery, things like that. And They have like BCAAs and glutamine. What do you think about those?
Well, I actually haven't heard of Fit Aid before.
Really?
Yeah.
They're on the shelves in the grocery stores now. Well, at least that.
Okay.
And they do have, BCAAs, and they have glutamine, and they have so the Fit Aid is all supposedly recovery. It could be a gimmick, I'm not sure.
Okay.
But I bought them and I've tasted them, and I feel it's a nice energy after you've kind of depleted yourself.
After you depleted yourself, yeah. So it's more of a recovery drink, which is actually the second concept. I would have to look at it specifically to see what's in it. So you're definitely saying branched chain amino acids, which are branched chain amino acids. That is like a topic in and of itself, and it is a hot topic.
Right.
It isn't a lot of stuff. Here's what I would say about branched chain amino acids. If you use if you're not a vegetarian or a vegan, I should actually say a vegan, because branched chain amino acids are in whey, plentiful in whey. Honestly, you can get enough through food alone. There's really not a big concern. Now, if you're somebody who is vegan, you're not taking in any dairy, you're not taking in any animal, your proteins are all from plants, which is it's doable, but you have to pay a little bit more attention. Something like a branched chain amino acid could be very useful. Especially.
Okay, so, you're saying that's a hot topic now, because I keep getting all these things on my feed about aminos and how you need them for your workout. And I'm talking like, I don't even run far, and I do a whole variety of different types of workouts. So I was thinking, wow, do I need these?
Yeah.
And they're going to get you lean and everything else. And I'm like, it's a gimmick.
Yeah. When they start talking about getting you lean, that's for sure a gimmick. If it sounds too good to be true, it's probably true.
Yeah.
The branched chain amino acids, like I say, though, there is a place for them in recovery. So how they get you with the branched chain amino acids is there's this key player of amino acids. It's like a powerhouse amino acid when it comes to muscle protein synthesis. So this is what we would be talking about for recovery. So when you work out, you dig that hole, right? And you break down muscle. That's the whole point of training, so that when it repairs itself stronger, and then you're stronger. One of the key amino acids for that muscle protein synthesis is called, it's called leucine, and it is a branched chain amino acid. If you do anything afterwards that has whey in it or an animal protein or anything like that, you're going to get more than enough. You don't need additional supplementation with branched chain amino acids. But if you're, doing something like hemp protein, for example, because you're vegan, the profile of hemp protein doesn't have enough branched chain amino acid. It doesn't have enough leucine in it. So that's when you would want to supplement with something like that. That's where you have to be careful with plant proteins. Not that there's anything wrong with them, but their profile just isn't the same. So you have to be careful there. Something like a whey protein, you're going to get more than enough though. So
I can't handle the whey though.
you can't handle it. Yeah. You could use
so
and
then the whole idea is still on the aminos, and I'm 60 and I feel like I'm really losing muscle mass. So I feel like I'm at that balance of don't overdo it on the endurance, because you should be doing the weight training to hold onto your muscle, and I'm losing muscle and it doesn't look pretty. And so I'm thinking that's still not going to put me in that category to need any type of amino acids, because I'm getting depleted. It's not going to help my, just the way that the protein will be processed for me to hold more lean muscle. It doesn't work that way.
You need, I guess we get very caught up on individual things like, oh, I need branched chain amino acids. Really what you need is a very complete protein with an amino acid profile of, you just need protein. Okay. So a huge part of maintaining muscle mass as you get older, and I'm sure Mary has you doing a lot of strength training and stuff like that. As we get older, we need more strength training to.
Oh yeah, I mean, I do a lot of that.
And then you need an appropriate amount of protein and an appropriate amount of energy, because it's not just about protein. So if you are wanting to lose weight and cutting calories for that purpose, that you actually have higher protein needs, because we don't want you to lose lean mass. So yeah.
Because that's what I'm saying. The age factor is working against me, I think, at this point. And it's a noticeable difference.
Yeah.
And I do the weights consistently, but okay, we'll go on. Go ahead.
Okay. So the next.
I just saw that Denise, did you intend to raise your hand? Do you have a question for Beth?
Yeah, thank you very much, Mary. I appreciate it. Hi, Beth. I'm just curious. I'm trying to follow Mary's schedule of working out, and I find that I really no longer can work out early in the morning anymore. So sometimes it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon, sometimes it's 6.
Uh-huh.
What is your thought about those the sugar or the caffeine that you usually take, like with the stingers or with jelly beans? Because as I go through the day, I get a little bit tired, so I start to pop those type of sugars that usually I'll take like during the race.
Right.
Like the little stinger, I don't know what they're called, the little stinger gummy worms or gummy bears.
Yep.
What do you think about those?
So that kind of stuff is very good for pre-workout fueling. You could use it in the 30 to 60 minutes prior. It's very good for during fueling, like you said. During the day, if we're talking like, well, I'm going to work out at 6, that's something to have, like at 5:30 to get you topped off and ready to go. It's not necessary. It's not something that you want to have at like 2 p.m. though. So something at 2 p.m. could be a more complex carbohydrate, or it could be, and we'll get to that point, basically core foods, which we're going to talk about. So I wouldn't use that stuff like randomly in the day, just like I wouldn't have you drink sports drink at, 9 a.m. with your breakfast if you're going to work out at 10, at 5 p.m. That stuff is meant to be used around workouts and during.
Okay, this is helpful because I'm finding the big difference between now and today is my workout time is really variable.
Mhm.
And what I would do in the morning is just really straightforward. But like, what do I do now if I'm working out during lunchtime? Do I eat lunch first and then do I work out?
Right.
I don't know. So I'd love to get your thoughts as we go through your
Yeah, I think I'll answer your question. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're always doing the post-workout, or I'm sorry, the pre-workout fueling. We're always doing that, regardless of what time you're working out. We're always fueling during, and that's not even a concept in here because, like I said, fueling during training is very is almost like a whole separate topic, but you're fueling during training. And that could look like sports drink. It can look like gels. It can look like the jelly beans or the chews, or it can look like bars. It can look like bananas, like whole foods as well, a little bit too. Post workout, it's important to use a high quality recovery drink. Clean recovery is an example. It contains whey in it. If you can't do whey, there are a lot of options out there. Tailwind is actually quite a good product it uses, I can't remember if it uses like a pea protein or what kind of protein it uses, but their recovery drink is very good. And it's actually supplemented with amino acids. So like we talked about, plant proteins don't necessarily have the same profile of amino acids. They don't have a lot of leucine in them. Oftentimes they don't have adequate leucine at all. But some of these products, and you have to, not all of them, but some of them are supplemented with what they're quote unquote missing. Tailwind is one of those. So the idea is that you want a 3 or 4 to 1 ratio of carbohydrate to protein. So for every 3 to 4 grams of carbohydrate, you have 1 gram of protein. That may look like 40 grams of carbohydrate and 10 grams of protein. Just depends on what we're scaling this eventually to the duration and intensity of the workout, but that's kind of what we're looking for. We need the carbohydrate to replete the glycogen stores that you've used. Glycogen is just the stored carbohydrate, the stored form of carbohydrate in your muscles and in your liver. You have a lot of energy stored in that form, but you need to replace it once you use it. So that's what the carbohydrate is for. And then, like I said, the protein is for the muscle protein synthesis that needs to take place after you've broken your muscle tissue down in training. Fat-free or low-fat chocolate milk can work. Honestly, chocolate milk is randomly, usually a 3 or 4 to 1 ratio. I don't think chocolate milk intended to be that way, but once they realized that it was, you all know chocolate milk was, they really marketed themselves towards athletes, and for good reason. The goal is to get it within 30 minutes after finishing your workout. So, and now you have the pre-workout fueling, you have fueling during, and then pretty much directly after your workout, you're having your recovery beverage, be it chocolate milk, be it a recovery drink, that type of thing. You want to scale. People always ask me, well, do I have to have it after every workout? Like, can I just have it after like the big workouts? Or no, you really need it after every workout, but you don't need the same amount for sure. So 6-hour bike ride is not the same thing as a 50-minute swim. You don't need the same amount of recovery, but you still need recovery after everything. So you scale the amount of recovery to duration and intensity.
Beth, I have a really random question.
Yes.
Hi, with the chocolate milk thing, sounds ridiculous. Does it have to be with milk, or can you do it with water, or is it the milk products that are required to be added to the chocolate?
You need the milk, and that's actually a very good question. When I'm speaking about this, I'm speaking about cow's milk. The reason being because often nut milk, so almond milk, or not even nut milks, like oat milk is a thing now. There's a lot of different varieties out there. Those milks don't have the same amount of protein. So we are looking that I'm specifically speaking about cow's milk because that's where the protein component comes from. Just milk alone, like say you just drank white milk, is not enough carbohydrate. The chocolate, the sugar that they add for the chocolate or the cocoa they add is what's providing the additional amount of carbohydrate. If you're going to use something like a chocolate milk, it needs to be, cow's milk. Now, when you use the recovery drinks, they're just designed to be where you just add water to those because they already have what they need, the right ratio, the right everything in the powder itself. So you're just trying to get it in a drinkable form with water. And you actually don't want to add milk to it or, coconut water, anything like that. It's already in the right ratios. Just leave it that way.
That's great. Thank you.
Yeah.
And Beth, if I can ask a clarifying question too. I don't drink cow's milk. And I also try to watch my sugar. So can I get the same effect with like a coconut milk and cacao?
Nope, because it's not going to have the protein that you need. So I would, for somebody like you, I would use, if you can't handle cow's milk, I would use a formulated recovery drink. I would use a Tailwind recovery or a clean recovery. I don't know if it's the whey specifically or the lactose that you're trying to avoid with the cow's milk, but because clean has whey in it. It doesn't have lactose, but it has whey. So remember, I know you want to watch sugars, but right after a workout, that's when we actually want sugar. I don't want you having it the other times of the day. And we're going to talk about that. Like that's a very, very extremely thing that I see all the time. I don't want to call it a mistake or a misconception, I guess, is that what people do is they don't fuel their workouts, they don't fuel the recovery, and then they end up eating, M&Ms later. It would have been a ton better to actually fuel your workouts when your body was needing and wanting the sugar, because that's how our muscles run. That's how we operate when we're training like we do. It would have been much better to take the sugar then, and then later on focus on the core foods, which we're going to talk about next, and get in some good nutrition later on with fruits and vegetables and things like that. So I know that's what I hear so often is, well, I don't want to do the sports drink. I don't want to do the gels. I don't want to do the recovery drink because it has a lot of sugar in it. That's what we need when we're training. We don't want it later on though. And oftentimes what happens is people won't fuel their training and thinking, well, I don't want that sugar. And then later on their body is asking for what it needed. And you end up, eating ice cream or eating, for me, it's chocolate covered Oreos, whatever it might be later on when you didn't need it. So
now I'm getting hungry. So if you're training moderately, how many grams of sugar would you say is appropriate a day?
Well,
Beth, I can add some clarification. So for the people doing the program, the people on this call, they're specifically doing sessions that only go up to an hour. So most days it's like 30 minutes to an hour. Some days are intense, some days are, not. So we're not talking about Ironman, we're talking about training for a 5K.
Right. So I would say if you're training for a 5K, I would say oftentimes your sessions themselves may not be long enough for gels and things like that. If you're specifically running, for example, let's say, fueling during running after an hour is the time frame that I would start to look to do this type of thing. But you still need the pre-workout fueling and you still need the recovery. So you still need those pieces of it. You just, if you're running for 30 minutes, you don't need anything during, type of thing. If you are going above an hour is kind of where I draw the line. You're going to need people going above an hour. Yeah.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So next concept then is the workout window. So we've talked about fueling before, fueling during, potentially, depending on the length of the workout, fueling after, and then the post-workout recovery. And then there exists this opportunity, what we call it the workout window. And essentially what it is it's an opportunity to continue to fuel with grains, to continue some carbohydrate, having carbohydrate in your diet in the form of grains. So essentially the workout window is the amount of time following a workout equal to the length of the workout time. So for example, if you do, I'm going to say, for example, if you do a 45-minute run from 8 a.m. to 8:45 a.m., then your workout window is that same 45-minute span, and it'd be from 8:45 to 9:30. Within that span, you're going to have your recovery drink. And then you also have up until 9:30, that span of time, where it's a really optimal time to consume grains. That might look like, for breakfast, for example, that might look like, well, I did my pre-workout fueling before my run. When I got up, I ran at 5:30 a.m. and I ran from 5:30 until 6:15. Right when I was finished, I had my recovery drink, and then from 6:15 to 7:30 is my workout window. I'm going to have an English muffin and an egg on top of that, and an avocado slice on top of it, and some tomato or something like that. That English muffin, a whole grain English muffin, is that's a perfect time to get some whole grains in there as well. The whole point of this is that carbohydrate is very important to endurance athletes, but it's very important to sandwich it around the training itself. And that's the piece that a lot of people miss. They don't fuel around the training. They eat their carbohydrate, they eat their grains or their sugars elsewhere. We want to eat it around the training itself. And then elsewhere, we want to focus on other things. So that's the workout window is just a made up thing, but it's a made up thing to help people understand the concept of eating your grains and your sugars around training, because that's when it's needed, it's used, it's utilized, it's most efficiently metabolized. Otherwise, we want to focus on other things. So that's the workout window. So what do we do the rest of the day is the question. Well, the rest of the day is when we're eating the so-called core foods, which again is just a made up term. But the core foods are essentially fruits and vegetables. These are the powerhouses of nutrition. This is where you're going to get all the good stuff. And by good stuff, I mean phytochemicals, vitamins, minerals, fiber, healthy fats, protein, general protein in general. This is where you get all the good stuff. And, a lot of times when we start talking about supplements and eating this or that, nope, just eat the good stuff. The quote unquote good stuff is going to get you there. So the rest of the day, when we're not working out and we're not sandwiching our workouts with the sugars and grains, we're focusing on fruits and vegetables, low fat dairy. If you do dairy, if you don't, that's fine. Nuts, seeds, legumes, and lean proteins. Lean proteins could come in the form of animal protein, or it could come in the form of plant protein. It doesn't matter. But these are the foods that are going to get you the nutrition, and they're also going to, in general, these foods are very low glycemic, and you don't have to worry about glycemic index. Just know all that really means is they're not going to spike your blood sugar constantly. They're going to keep your blood sugar pretty stable, and you feeling full, you getting a ton of nutrition, being forced to eat the good stuff and focus on the good stuff. And that's kind of what a day looks like. So whether you do your workout in the morning or you do your workout in the evening, you sandwich your workout wherever it is with the grains, and the rest of the time you're focusing on the core foods. And this slide just kind of sums that up. So this is what we call the windows. These, when I say mind your windows, this is what I'm talking about. So again, pre-workout, you're fueling during, if the workout would indicate that, your recovery drink, your post-workout window, and then during the rest of the day, your core foods. And people say, well, what if I don't work out during the day? Well, then you're mostly focusing on core foods all day. And that's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing to eat a lot of fruits and vegetables. Over my time as a dietitian of, like I said, 20 plus years, I have looked at probably thousands of food logs. And if there's one thing I could say with how people eat, it is hands down that they need to eat more fruits and vegetables, hands down. And you know, a plant-based diet, the plant-based diet craze, you know, has been big, and a lot of people have gotten on board with that. Dietitians for years have been plant-based. It doesn't mean the exclusion of animal protein necessarily. All it means is that we eat a lot of plants, and no dietitian would ever argue that eating a lot of plants is crucial to good health. So if there's nothing else you hear today, it's that you probably are going to need to eat more fruits and vegetables within your day. And that's why the core diet works pretty well, because if you are really focusing grains and sugars around your workouts, and the rest of the day you're kind of left with fruits and vegetables and proteins, you get really creative with snacks and meals and things like that to get that good stuff in.
You know, Beth, I have a question. I probably couldn't have done this at the same time that I wanted to do a workout, but I also did something like it with a day 2 to check your bio-individuality of what foods your body responds to.
Okay.
And for grains and rice, I'm out of the market. I cannot eat any grains or rice except for Kiwan, white balsamic, and teff. That's it. No more tip oats. So that's why I was trying to figure out, well, what do I have for those carbohydrates that, you know, and again, I'm running 45 minutes, right?
Yep.
And so I'm not overly concerned, but what would you suggest with that limited grains and rice that I could have its carbohydrates?
So you can definitely, so you're doing your pre-workout fueling, and your pre-workout fueling could be, it could be a gel, it could be a banana. Banana has 25 grams of carbohydrate in it. I bet you can find a bread product that is made with the grains that you can have. I bet you can find something, or you could have a little bit of rice beforehand. That honestly would probably do okay. During, it's going to be, you know, if you do get workouts long enough, sports drink and all that would be fine. Those are very simple sugars. I would use a recovery drink, something like a Clean or a Tailwind or something like that, if you can't do chocolate milk. And then in your post-workout window, you can do rice, you can do quinoa. That all sounds pretty good. The rest of the day, you know, let's talk about, and that it's actually, I'm glad you brought this up, because it's a concern a lot of people have. They're like, well, is the core diet like low carbohydrate? That doesn't even make sense, because you don't want me to have grains, but I'm an endurance athlete. Well, you know, a sweet potato has 50 grams of carbohydrate in it. Like, that's an excellent source of carbohydrate. It just has a lot of other good stuff too, though. It's not a bowl of pasta, no, but it has almost as much carbohydrate in it. And it also has a ton of fiber. It has a ton of vitamin A. Like, it has a ton of phytochemicals. I could go on and on and on. So see how that's like a very similar amount of carbohydrate, but it's just packaged better. Like, our plants are packaged really well with nutrients. And so you can get plenty of carbohydrate through fruits and vegetables. You can get plenty of carbohydrate through beans. You know, 1 cup of beans is going to be way more carbohydrate than pasta or rice or any kind of bread or grains that you can have. So there's ample opportunity within the core foods alone. Does that make sense? Does that answer your question?
It does, and
Yeah.
that's really helpful. I'm just checking my chart as you talk here, what I can and can't eat. And, I noticed that you put fig Newtons there. I've never really had a fig Newton, but someone had recommended to have dates rolled
Yes.
in peanut. Is that kind of the same thing?
Exactly. So, you're not going to, if you can't handle a lot of the like whole wheat and things like that, you wouldn't do a fig Newton, but you could do dates. You can do dates. That's actually pretty perfect. It's a pretty
Yeah.
perfect little fuel. Now, it has fiber in it. So I don't know that I would want to have it like, like during a run or right before a run. But if you have 1 or 2 dates, an hour before a run, that's pretty perfect. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you, Beth.
Sure. So I do have some other concepts. This doesn't have to, I kind of like am talking about different things here now, but this kind of fits with it. Eating frequently throughout the day is another mistake that I see often. And I 100% understand this. A lot of people have extremely busy lives and very busy jobs, and you get to work. And I mean, I don't know if everybody's working from home now. So if you're working from home, you have no excuse. But a lot of people, if you're not working from home, you're working in somewhere and you don't necessarily have the opportunity to eat. But here's where I want to say you have to force it. You have to force it somehow, because eating frequently is really an important piece of it too. And this has to do with endurance athletes, but it even if you never did any sport ever, you never did any sort of training, I would be telling you the same thing. Just because you want to keep your blood sugar stable throughout. What I see a lot of people do is they let themselves get extremely hungry, like ravenously hungry. And so they overdo it then. So they don't, they eat something in the morning and then, well, I got really busy at work and I didn't eat again until like 4 p.m. Then I was starving, so I ate an entire pizza. It would have been a lot better if it doesn't have to be big, but you ate a banana at 10 a.m. and then at 11 a.m. you ate a cheese stick. I don't know, something. At noon, you force down a little bit of a lunch. So again, eating small, frequent meals is really important. Eat when you first get up. I have a lot of people that don't want to do that, especially if you're going to work out. You have to, because that's your pre-workout fueling. But even if you're somebody that works out in the evening and you do your training in the evening, eat when you first get up. Don't wait 4 hours or 2 hours or even an hour. Just eat something when you get up. And then eat something right before bed. And that something right before bed is generally best to be protein. And protein, really just protein is the goal. Like that's kind of hard, but just protein and not a ton of fat, not a lot of carbohydrate in addition. So that could be a little bit of protein powder. That could be like a hard-boiled egg. It could be a little bit of cottage cheese, a half a cup of cottage cheese if you can do dairy. So something of that nature, but something right before bed is good too. And that just reduces that fasting window.
Beth, just I wonder if that last piece that you went over about the protein before bed would be particularly helpful for Marie, who was asking about muscle mass and maintaining muscle mass.
Yeah, I mean, a big part of this, honestly, is protein before bed. It helps with recovery. It reduces the fasting window. But a big part of this is just meeting protein needs. And I would say of the people who don't meet protein needs there's 2 groups. There's female athletes in general. So that's a very big group, but female athletes in general. And then large men have a hard time, large muscle. When you have a large amount of muscle mass, it's hard to feed that much muscle. Like 200 grams of protein is just hard. It doesn't matter.
But there is a formula for your body weight, for your needs. Isn't there a formula?
That's how we figure out protein needs. Yeah, as based off your body weight. Yep, and what you're trying to do, basically, and your activity level and things like that. Yeah. So yeah. it would be particularly helpful for anybody trying to meet their protein needs, for sure. Okay, and then I think this is the last concept, but I often get asked about supplements. And there's a lot out there. There's a ton out there. Poor Mary has probably Mary's heard me talk a couple times, and she probably heard me say this a million times. So Mary, you can just turn your microphone on right now, or turn your sound off right now. But I'm not a big supplement person. I just spent all this time talking about fruits and vegetables, and that's how you get the good stuff. Lean proteins, beans, nuts, seeds, legumes. That is how you get the good stuff. Any dietitian that you talk to is going to say food first. But there's one particular nutrient that I think is just unparalleled in terms of the amount of research and the amount of benefit that it adds in all sorts of capacities. And that's essentially omega-3 fatty acids. So you've probably heard omega-3 fatty acids. They're everywhere, anywhere from, decreasing cardiovascular risk to making your skin beautiful to helping with recovery in endurance sport to reducing inflammation and protecting your joints, you name it. Omega-3s are somehow, there's some research on how omega-3s help. But the thing about omega-3s is the amount that we need is incredibly hard to get through diet alone. Even if you ate salmon for lunch and dinner every night, it would be pretty difficult to still meet your needs. If you ate salmon for lunch and dinner every single day, you could probably do it. But there's nobody that does that other than Eskimos. There's a lot of the original research was done in Eskimos. So this is how we know this. Anyway. So this is the one supplement that I do talk about taking, and pretty much everybody can benefit from it. What you're looking for is 2 grams of EPA and DHA a day. And that is, like I said, is going to probably take a supplement. We talk about getting omega-3s through plant sources like avocado, flax, walnuts, canola oil is another one you hear. Unfortunately, plant source omega-3s are very poorly metabolized into the EPA and DHA metabolites, which is what we're looking for. So in other words, you hear me talk about how much salmon you need to meet your needs. You would need so many walnuts, you would far exceed your calorie goals from walnuts alone, not eating anything else. So in other words, plant sources aren't a really good way to meet your needs. Cold water fatty fish are, but it's still very difficult. So this is the one supplement I recommend. And I tell everybody that I can possibly tell, including little old ladies in the grocery store, to all athletes I speak to my own family members, how important this one is. So clean makes a good one. There's not all omega-3 fatty acids are created equal. So be careful what you get. Nordic Naturals makes a very good one. Clean, like the Clean Recovery, it's KLEAN. They make a very good one. And you want to just look on the back of the bottle for the amount of EPA and the amount of DHA. And again, you want to get 2 grams a day. So if you get some from fatty fish, then maybe you need a little less supplement. But if you don't eat fatty fish at all, or you're like me, I get it once every 6 months when I go out to eat or something like that, then I would make sure that you get 2 grams from your supplement alone. Any questions on that one?
Beth, I know we have a couple of vegetarian athletes, and I remember on the call over the weekend, someone mentioned an algae-based omega-3.
Yep.
Could you
so if you're vegan, if you really, everybody's definition of vegetarianism, veganism is a little different. If you don't want to do any fish at all, There are algae-based supplements. Nordic Natural makes a very good one. Go to Nordic Naturals, type in algae, it'll come up. But algae is actually the algae that they make the supplement out of is actually what the fish eat to get the omega-3s. It's going straight to the source of the omega-3s, the algae. So the fish oil end up having a lot of omega-3s because of what they eat. So we are what we eat. See what I'm saying? We are what we eat. So yes, you can do an algae-based supplement instead. So I think that's it. That is it. I have some discounts here for some of the services we do.
I love them.
Mary Kay is the discount code, but race fueling, it sounds like maybe you guys not so much interested in race fueling. If you're training for like shorter like type run races where race fueling is not for a 5K, you don't need race fueling. For an Ironman, you do type of thing. But a nutrition plan is our everyday eating. That's sort of the, what are my protein needs? What should my days look like? How much carbohydrate do I need? That type of thing. That's what nutrition plans are. So, yeah.
So you didn't address fat a whole lot?
Yeah.
And as far as fat, like you did mention, like, the walnuts and that, and then they're so high in calories. So
Right.
I'm sure everybody likes peanut butter and the nut butters. So isn't that a part also? And I feel it's really hard to manage when I'm taking in nuts and seeds, which I love, and then the peanut butter, which I love. So the fat, the fat is like good, not good, how much?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Everybody needs fat in their diet. Fat is a very important, it plays a very important role in many functions. So it's not, the idea is not to have a fat-free diet in any sense. You just are looking for healthier fats. How are you going to find healthier fats? Those are the omega-3s for sure. But even omega-9s, you need omega-6s. Omega-6s are what we consider like, for example, animal fat, or, fat in dairy, for example. The so-called bad fats, actually, we need those too. We need all fats. So what's important is just a balance. And so, why the omega-3s get pushed so hard is because the American diet in general is extremely high in omega-6s and not high at all in omega-3s. So that's why our ratios get out of balance. So fat is important, but remember, just like you're saying, fat is very calorically dense. So just as an example, 1 gram of protein has 4 calories in it. 1 gram of carbohydrate has 4 calories in it. 1 gram of fat has 9 calories in it. So that's why you just have to be careful with serving size. And people get very excited about eating avocado and walnuts and, things like that. And that's great. They have very healthy fats in them, but you still have to watch serving size for sure.
Do you advise, if you're going to snack on nuts, then you're not going to put that avocado into your salad? Or if you're going to eat peanut butter, then you're not snacking on nuts? Do you say just cut one out, or
Yeah. I mean, it's very individual. It needs to be very individualized because everybody's calorie needs are very different. If one person has walnuts, then yeah, maybe they shouldn't also have peanut butter and avocado, but the next person could very well be able to handle both. It's the amount of calories that you need. Exactly. Yeah.
And Beth, I remember you're reminding me that I need to go back and look through. I've had the nutrition plan done and the fueling plan done, and they were game changers for my energy throughout the day and my sports performance. So just a quick testimonial there. But I remember there were very specific ratios of those things that really put guidance around these questions, Marie, that you're asking about what was the right amount for me on days that I was training, one
Right.
session a day, 2 sessions a day, not training at all. And that context is really important. And I remember getting those really detailed answers through the plans.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, everybody's quite different in terms of where they are and the amount of training. That all plays a role. Everybody's goal is different. You know, some people want to lose weight, some people just want to maintain, some people want to gain muscle mass. It's all just so, you know, when I talk about nutrition, it's hard to talk to a variety of people because they're all have a little bit different goals, but the general concepts that we talked about today about fueling your workouts, about getting your grains and your sugars around your workouts, and otherwise focusing on the core foods, that is specific to everybody who eats and does some sort of activity. So, and omega-3s, specific to everybody. Everybody needs omega-3.
Are there any other questions for Beth?
I just have one, which Mary won't want me to ask, but is Haribo ever allowed?
Those are gummies.
Oh,
Gummy,
like
gummy bears.
oh, like the gummy bears. You know when you should
Yeah,
have
like a whole 220 gram bag. Is that cool?
Is that what you're eating right now, Marcus, right before bedtime?
I did a 12 donut challenge the other day in 14 minutes 59. So I probably shouldn't say that either.
I'm gonna say that I feel like his camera isn't on because he's eating these right now as we're speaking. I feel like that's what's happening. Yeah, I don't know. So you know when those would be good to have is honestly right before a workout or during a workout. You know, it's not like an Ironman race plan type thing, but like that's when you have stuff like that because that's when it will be used. That's when your body says, yes, I could use some sugar right now because I'm actively using that to help you run or to help you swim or whatever. So there's a place
Sweet.
for everything. You just gotta find
As long as it's allowed, that's cool. Perfect.
a whole bag probably not needed, but you know. Here is my email. Don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions about anything. But that's my email there.
Yeah. Beth, could you just back up one page to the, yeah. Also, a couple of you guys know that I've already recommended to you that in the endurance training diet and cookbook is amazing. It goes into more depth into that whole concept of core foods and fueling around training. So if you want to know more about this or figure out how to really implement it in your day-to-day nutrition and your training, buy that book and or go contact Beth about a fueling plan or a nutrition plan, and that'll put some context around it. It also has recipes that are within the core diet, right? Yeah. And you can also follow, I know everybody's always looking for recipes. The core diet has great recipes on the website. That's one of the brands that Beth is part of. That has great recipes that are all within the core diet, right?
Yep. And on the Instagram and Facebook page of the core diet, every Wednesday we post a new recipe. So that's like a easy thing to follow and just get different ideas. So
yeah. Well, what I love so much about your presentation, Beth, is just how simple it is to make those little shifts, and that you're not telling us like any single food group is bad, because I hate nutrition advice that says that. And you're not trying to sell supplements, which also that's a big red flag when it comes to people trying to give you advice about nutrition. It's just like reasonable, science-based, evidence-based nutrition that just makes sense and it works, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah. Anywhere where you see that you should never eat X, Y, or Z is generally a sign that it's not good advice. So anything can kind of work in there. You just have to find the right place for it. So For sure.
Yeah.
Um,
Awesome. Any questions?
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Beth, thank you so much. That was absolutely fantastic. And I will be posting the recording of this once it finishes downloading and everything. I'll post it and send all links to all of you all.
Thanks, guys.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Have a
Thank
great
you very
day.
much.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
I did get one comment that Denise had to jump off, but she said, Mary, this is great. Beth is amazing. And she loved it. So thank you.
Oh, awesome. You're more than welcome. I'll talk to
Yeah.
you guys soon.
All right. Thanks, Beth. See ya.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Beth. Okay, bye-bye.